Our next guest is Matt Ebden, an Australian tennis player who's been ranked as high as 39 in the world. Thanks for joining us today, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's nice to be back involved with the school in some way, and I hope I can provide something interesting for the boys to keep them occupied.
Yeah, beautiful. Like you say, old 2004 Hale School graduate. Can you tell us a bit more about the sports you played as a teenager, both in the community and for school?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously tennis. I started Hale in year 8, and tennis was my biggest sport for sure. I was going at a state level and a national level with that from pretty young age. But then also since year 8, I played water polo at school. I had to do a Friday afternoon sport while I had tennis on Saturdays, and then I played hockey in the winter all the way up until year 12. Even with tennis. While I was doing tennis and training and everything, just to keep fit and, team sport at school. And so that was great to have, I suppose, tennis and hockey all the way through till year 12. And, obviously just a bit of swimming, a bit of athletics, and, a little bit of water polo early on. But then, obviously tennis sort of took over, as I got, more towards year 11 and 12, in school and out of school. As well as club training, and then obviously national tournaments and international even. So that was pretty much my sporting path.
Yeah, I seem to remember you being a bit of a weapon over the 400 metre in the athletics as well.
I don't know about that, but I suppose being an athlete definitely helps with tennis. So that was one thing. From a young age, I was pretty fortunate to be able to be pretty good in the sprinting area, and it obviously helped me well for agility and speed in tennis. And then even cross country I remember doing a few times, and I was a pretty good runner, so that also helped me helped me a lot with tennis. Being we need speed and agility, but we also need obviously endurance and all that, so long 5-set matches and things like that. So I think all those years developing with different sports in my teenage years at Hale was definitely key in a lot of those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously involved in a lot of those sports, as you mentioned. What was your sort of best sporting win as a kid at school, and why do you think you still remember it to this day?
The quickest memories that come back probably during my time at Hale was winning the I think it was the Corr Cup. I think the first team tennis trophy. I think we won it might have been 2 years in a row, and then I think after I left year 12, I'm pretty sure they might have won it again another 1 or 2 times. I think they had a bit of a win streak for 3 or 4 years. We had really good depth in our team, and so probably winning that. I think at least 1 or 2 times when I was there, and then I even followed it the year or 2 after I'd left Hale in 2004. And I'm pretty sure I had a pretty big win streak. I think I was captain of the first team tennis at least one of the years, so I'm pretty sure we won it that year. So that's probably my most special sort of sporting memories from school. And then I suppose other things to do with school sports, taking tennis in tennis there was like a Pizzy Cup where you go and play for Western Australia against the other states, and then you get selected for national Australian teams from that, and I played well in that and got selected for the Australian national team, school sport team or whatever. So probably those 2 things are probably my biggest or best memories of I suppose sporting achievements while I was at Hale. And then all the other stuff I just remember as fun, like obviously all the hockey games we won, house carnivals, athletics carnivals, all the great sort of intra-school, sports and stuff that we have and do. Yeah. But probably, my biggest ones would be in tennis, I suppose,
Yeah, they're still kicking all those into house ones as well, still as competitive as ever?
Exactly. I miss it. I'd love to come back and then see or watch again one day and get involved.
Yeah, you'll have to come check it out. Obviously, you've mentioned that you were playing at a very high level from a young age there. When did you actually sort of officially make that decision that you were going to go professional, and what sacrifices did you need to make to sort of make your dream come true?
It's a good question. It brings me to something I forgot to mention. So, I moved from South Africa to Australia when I was 13 years old, and in sort of January of 2001, and I went straight into year 8 at Hale. So I had just moved to the country and went straight into year 8. And straight into high school at Hale, and then did year 8. And then after year 8, I was obviously going well with tennis and reasonably well, in my schooling year. So we spoke with, Tennis WA and Tennis Australia, as well as our then headmaster was John Inverarity, you would remember.
Yeah, yep.
And had some meetings, and I nearly stopped school after year 8 to do full-time tennis and sort of homeschooling, so I could essentially already sort of train up full-time and go towards professional pretty quickly. But after various discussions with our schooling sports masters, tennis masters, and headmaster, as well as with my family and other coaches and development coaches in tennis outside of school, we decided it was an option to. I actually skipped year 9, so that was something that we did. So I went straight from year 8 to year 10, which was a little bit strange. But I guess because I'd come from South Africa, I was maybe slightly at a different point in school curriculums and age-wise anyway. So, and that meant that I would finish year 12 when I was 16, going on 17. I'm born end of November, so I was 16 when we finished TE, and then 17 a month later. So it sort of gave me that extra year after I finished at Hale, year 12, to then have that extra sort of gap year to do extra training for 6 months and then go on the tour and sort of catch up a little bit then. So we decided to stay in school at Hale, and obviously I valued education hugely, and then as high as nearly anything, did on my team, got a really good score. I was actually entered to go to law commerce at UWA after high school. That was something that was important for me, but I deferred that to have a go at professional tennis straight away. So never actually went off to UWA, but I did a Bachelor of Business sort of online in my first few years going on the professional tour. But obviously wasn't able to do law while I was traveling. It was too much. But so it brings me back to the schooling was really important for me. After year 8, nearly stopped school completely. But with my family and I, we were very realistic that the chances of making it in professional sport are very slim. They are there. They are possible. You can do it. It's definitely possible, but they are slim, and you never know really what happens. So, and I was at such a great school like Hale that I was, motivated to make the most of it, and my family and that and everyone around me sort of encouraged me to, do well at school if I could, and have that as an option if tennis didn't work out, and even for life after tennis, because I'm 32 years old. I've been on the tour for 10 to 15 years basically, and at some point in the next 5 or 10 years maximum, I will be stopping professional tennis. Probably not. Some guys are playing towards 40 these days, but probably not much after 35, 40 years old in terms of professional tennis career with all the travel and the physical aspect. So I think the education will play a big part for the rest of my life, as well as everything I've done in tennis too. So so to answer your question, a bit long-winded, but it sort of brought me to a few of those points I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important to have that backup plan, I suppose, even if you you are in the professional sort of arena.
Yeah, that's what we found, and so you can't really have your cake and eat it too, but we found a way to sort of get creative with structuring how I could still stay in school and still, try and get good grades and have a chance for, higher education, university after school if I needed it or wanted it, while still doing all my training before school, after school, into the night, on weekends, on holidays. If I had to miss a few days or weeks of school here or there for national tournaments or certain things, then, I had to do it, that's fine. But, I made up for it, and even over the holidays, I'd do a bit of extra, schoolwork or study that when I skipped sort of year 9 and went straight from year 8 to 10, I had to sort of do quite a bit of work over those summer school holidays to sort of catch up the basics from year 9 that I'd missed, so that I could, successfully go on to year 10 and obviously still do tennis as well. So, those two things went hand in hand for me, and, I'm so glad that I did that and didn't leave school behind or quit school or let that go, because even now I see, even 15 years after leaving school, as I'm sure you do, that the value of having such a great alumni or school behind us and school network that we went through and were a part of. I've seen it everywhere in life, even being in tennis and not even being here much the last 10 to 15 years, being traveling most of the time. Just the value of having that that strong school network of being at such a great school, and all the other people that have went before us, the ones that come after us, and even all the guys we went through the same age. I'm sure we run into people in sort of every sort of sector of life that we go through. Well, I certainly have in the last years. So yeah,
no, absolutely, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So moving on to your sort of professional tennis career, what are some of your career highlights as a professional tennis player, and what made them so special?
Yeah, I think so far, I was able to win a Grand Slam at the Australian Open. Must be 5 or 6 years ago in the mixed doubles. We won the title in the Australian Open in the mixed double. So to call myself a Grand Slam champion was pretty special. It's something probably one of the pinnacles of the sport. So that's really special. But maybe even more special than that is playing Davis Cup for Australia. Being on the Davis Cup team, representing green and gold. Having my own Davis Cup number. I played 6 matches in Davis Cup. I've won 5, only lost 1. One of the doubles was with Leighton Hewitt. All my others were singles matches I won. So, representing Australia in Davis Cup was one of my big goals, probably for any tennis player in Australia or around the world. Talk about the pinnacles of our sport. They're probably Grand Slams, Davis Cup representing your country, and then, your top rankings. So, for me, I was in the top 40 in the world in the singles rankings, similar in doubles. But even probably more than just that, there's probably been periods where I've beaten a lot of top 10 players. So that's probably always been my goal, is to get to the top 10 in the world rankings. I haven't quite got there yet on the rankings, but certainly at different periods in the last, I suppose, 10 years, I've played at a level equivalent to a top 10 sort of ranking, and that would show at times when I start to beat guys who are in the top 10 pretty regularly, and those are probably really satisfying, because then you really know that everything you've done, all the work you've done, all the improvements, all the stuff that you've worked on for a long time and getting better at, is sort of paid off, and you're basically doing it at the highest level in the whole world, and that you're basically, when you're playing as well as that at those certain times, you're basically, you're one of the best tennis players in the whole world. So that's a pretty fulfilling, special feeling. So probably those things, winning Grand Slam, winning Davis Cup matches for Australia, ATP World Tour titles. I've won, a bunch in doubles as well, and probably, a bunch of top 10 wins. And then also just, mixing, training a lot, and even playing guys like Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Andy Murray. Played them all, a few times. Spent a lot of weeks training with Roger, with Andy Murray. After a training week with Andy once, he flew us on his private jet to the next tournament. That was pretty cool. So just special experiences like that you don't really get probably all the time or every day. Yeah. Things that just stand out. Even Davis Cup, one of our Davis Cups, with Pat Rafter and Leighton and that, we had to get into Uzbekistan one year. Was a tough place to get to, so we got to Dubai, and we were able to take a private jet in from there. So just cool little things like that, So, stuff, things that you definitely don't take for granted or anything, but just also the people you meet, I suppose, along the way. But to name a few, probably those are sort of been, a lot of the highlights so far in the last 10 to 15 years, and, who knows, the next 1 or 2 years or 5 or 10, if I can try to make some more highlights and get a little bit better, improve my game, and potentially get some more things happening. But otherwise, I'm keen to also start to sort of put back into the sport and into the community in tennis in Perth and WA, and sort of help lead tennis in this state into the future with everything I've been able to learn, I suppose, in the last 15, 20 years. Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned some big names there. I mean, who would you say is the toughest opponent you've ever come up against, and why?
If anyone listening probably watched the Australian Open last year, I won my first round, had a good win, and then I played Rafa Nadal in the second round, night match on Rod Laver Arena. Had chances. I think I was up 4-3 in the first set, had break points to sort of go up and maybe get the first set. I didn't get them. He got a break the next game and won the first set, and then he just really, really pulled away and sort of steamrolled after that. And, those great champions, like you have chances to be neck and neck with them, maybe even to beat them if you stay with them early on. But then once they get a lead or they get up, then it's like the floodgates open and they just get even better and better and better, and it's so hard to stop. So that's probably Rafa in a night match in those conditions. It's really slow. The ball's heavy. It sort of favors his style of play a lot. I like to be maybe a bit more aggressive, take the ball early if I can. Use the pace of the court and the speed of the ball. But someone like Rafa can sort of get hold of you and muscle you around, and it's pretty. He becomes a real beast, and that's probably one of the toughest ones. I played him a couple of times on grass. It's been very, very close. I didn't win, but I almost won most of those sets, so that was neck and neck. Same with Roger in the quarterfinals of Hale, not last year, before I played him when he was world number one and won Wimbledon that year as well. So I was sort of neck and neck with him. So I was playing some of the best sort of grass court tennis in the world, which was pleasing, but I wasn't able to, I guess, beat him. Obviously, he's pretty good player himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, a little bit of a different tact here, but everyone goes through tough times in life. I mean, the boys at the moment, they're probably a bit frustrated sitting at home, not able to play their favourite sports and do the things they love to do. I mean, how do you sort of get through little hiccups in life? I mean, it might be injuries, it might be sort of setbacks, tough losses, things like that. How do you get through that? I suppose the second part of that question, what have you learnt from those situations?
Okay. For the first part, I mean, look, the ups and downs, I mean, as you know, even just getting older, going through your 20s, the boys are obviously in their teenage years, and now, we've gone through our 20s, you start to see, life's not all, rose petals and pretty paintings and pictures. There's always ups and downs. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how good you are, how rich you are, how successful you are. There's always ebbs and flows, there's always ups and downs, there's always things happening. So I think expectations is a big thing I've learned. I've studied a lot of sports psychology and sort of mindset and stuff myself to be able to get to where I've probably gotten in world tennis. Probably expectations is a big thing, because if you're expecting life to always be perfect and happy and great and everything, then it's not going to be the reality, as most people who are a bit older and more experienced know. And even if you look at guys like Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal, there's been times in their careers where they've lost for months or years on end, and they've lost their rankings, or they haven't been playing well, or they've gotten injured, or had to have surgery. And there are definitely just ups and downs. I suppose even at the moment, for the boys, I definitely empathise with them. Our World Tennis Tour has been cancelled for 3.5 months. Today they just announced that Wimbledon was cancelled for this year. That was at the end of June, so that's only still 3 months away, and they've already cancelled that. So obviously similar with the Olympics coming up, Olympics has been cancelled. So that's not easy to deal with, but I also see in tough times, in times of, I suppose, adversity, or the down times, as we call them, or the ebbs and flows. I think there's always seems to be opportunity in down times, or in negatives, not negatives, but in down times or losses or anything like that. And I suppose you can always learn from those down times, and then there's always opportunity to be creative in those times. So even for me at the moment, I'm using it as time to sort of, I guess, spread my spread my time in certain different avenues in tennis, in business, and in helping certain clubs and communities, helping Tennis West, different organisations, some charity stuff, also just spending time connecting with friends and family. And even just learning about different things. I'm taking an online certificate course from Yale University at the moment. So, I find there's always opportunity, even in down times or different times. And I'd say probably to the boys, who are frustrated, of course, do what you can. Keep fit, keep healthy. Do sport in your backyard if you can, or at home. If you can get out, go for a run, or play a bit of sport even by yourself or with one friend. with whatever social distancing measures or whatever you need to follow, do that. But obviously it's amazing now being able to be at home with the internet. There's a lot of stuff you can watch, old sports matches, a lot of sporting tips, all these sort of things. So yeah, that would probably be my sort of advice, I suppose, in this sort of time, is not to be too down with what you can't do, but more just look at it as, there's going to be plenty of times to be on the sporting field or on the tennis courts or in the gyms, all day, every day when we get back to it, when we get back to normal life as such, or, when we get back to school or back to, whatever it is. But I would think, in these times, it's a good chance to sort of be creative and spend a bit of time doing things you wouldn't normally do, just to even broaden, I suppose, your horizons and sort of expand your skill set in other areas. As you go through life, it's not only probably just one thing. Even me being a tennis player, there's a lot of other avenues and areas that I'm interested in, and even hobbies and certain other skills and things you want to learn for, helping you with the rest of your life and with friends, family, with people in different areas. So yeah, I'd say just be creative. Think about what else you like other than the things you can't do. I'm sure everyone has hobbies or different skills that they could do, especially with the internet. These days at home, infinite amounts of information you can learn and sort of do to learn things or become knowledgeable about that will help you when you are back at school, when you are back at sport, or even for life after school and in the rest of your life. So yeah, probably something like that.
No, some great advice, man.
And your second part of that question, can you tell me again?
Well, you've sort of nailed it there, but what have you learnt from those situations? I suppose there's always opportunity in adversity.
Yeah, there is that, and I suppose also from that, it does come with learning tools of, not tools of the trade, but there are certain tools you can use to get through more tough times. I suppose even in basic psychology or mindset or stuff. Some of the stuff is, just experiencing gratitude for the stuff that you do have at the moment, not for the stuff that you don't have or that you can't do. And, stuff like savoring certain moments or things, or being grateful for things that we do have and things that we can do. It often helps a lot with our happiness, more so than just getting achievements on the sporting field or in school or certain grades or earning more money or things like this. So that's the truth in a lot of areas, but as well as dealing with times when you may feel not so happy, you may feel down, you may feel frustrated, bored, annoyed. There's definitely communication is important. I always find I like to have good people around me, whether it's friends, family, coaches, agents. In the boys' cases, teachers, friends, family, mentors, maybe different people they talk to. It's just good to, I suppose, communicate how you're feeling, and that's probably one way of at least talking about it, and then being able to go from there to then making plans to be creative and think, okay, what are we grateful for? What do we have? And then, be creative and think, what else can we do in these times? And to prepare us for when we do return to the sports field, to the classrooms, to school, even one day, life after school, into university or, into not real world, but, adult world or the whole of life ahead of us. So, yeah, it's a big wide world out there. There's plenty of stuff. So, just encourage them to look for it.
Yeah, no, great advice, and I think a lot of the boys can definitely learn something from it. On a bit of a lighter... Sorry, mate?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, on a bit of a lighter note, I don't know if you'd wear these, but I'm interested in your thoughts on them. Our director of co-curricular, Mr. Bauer, he's not a huge fan of the old Birkenstocks. We've been asking everybody that we've been interviewing of their opinion of them. So what are your opinions of Birkenstocks? Are they something that should have stayed in Israel in 50 BC or?
So I've got probably two opinions. I'll give you my opinion, I'll give you my physio's opinion. So first I'll give you my physio's opinion. So at Wimbledon last year, he was saying to me, obviously tennis players, our feet get, sweaty, we're in shoes for hours on end training, long matches. And obviously the physios are taping up our feet or worried about our bodies recovering. So he saw I was always wearing running shoes around, when I wasn't on court, just, walking around and here and there. So he said, he's like, you should get some of these Birkenstocks or these, whatever, he had a nickname for them, I think Birks or something. And he was wearing them, and some of our girls players, I think Daria Gavrilova, maybe Sam Stosur as well, they were trotting around in them at Wimbledon. And he said to me, why don't you get these? He said, they're really comfortable, they're really good for your feet, they got like sort of like an orthotic contour in the shoe, like good support for your feet and whatever. And then, anyway, so that was from our sort of Tennis Australia physio. So he was a fan of them. So for anyone who out there who does like them, there you go, you've got a supporter there. Me personally, I don't have any, and I don't have any plans to get them. If you see me, the best I'll be maybe in something like Haleianas, or if my feet are sore, maybe like an Ortho Heels type thongs. But I am all for podiatrists and orthotics and making sure your feet are well supported. But Birkenstocks are not my thing.
Not your thing, okay. Mr. Bauer will be very, very excited by that answer. This second one that we've been asking a few people here, and I'll close with this one. But Tuesday for us at school, it's pie day for staff and for boarders. Now, there's some interesting ways of eating the pies. Some of the guys take the lid off and sauce inside. Other guys sort of just sauce on top and hoe it down. How does Matt Ebden eat a pie?
Yeah, I'm probably sauce on top and hoe it down. I don't like to mess around too much with it. It's a good old Aussie tradition. I think keep it simple, right? Just get the sauce on top and hoe it down, like you say. But so I don't know. Yeah, I remember that from school and in the old days. Good to see that there's still a tradition going.
That's it. Some things never change, mate.
That's it. How do you take your pie?
I don't like to mess around. The standard is pie, sauce on top, and get it in me.
Go for it. Yeah, that's it. No messing around.
That's it. All right, Matt. Look, we really appreciate your time. Look, all the best. I hope the tour gets back on track ASAP for your sake, and we'll be keeping a close eye on your progress as we always do.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the call and then the time, and nice to be able to share a bit with the boys, and I'd love to get involved a little more in future and see if I can help out in any way.
I'm sure there'll be a bunch of very excited tennis players hearing that. All right. Cool. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
All right.